Welcome to another episode on the BMTA podcast on maritime training and careers. And today we are exploring, is this the life for me? Exploring maritime futures. And once again, I'm pleased to say we have Sam Samuels with us for this episode. How are you doing, Sam?
Yeah, all good today. Thanks, Owen.
Okay, so we're just going to explore the different avenues and just having that open and honest conversation about the maritime industry. It is a strange but wonderful industry in which there are lots of opportunities. But quite often I hear the saying, and I've been to many open events, I've done many open events, and one of the things I always find humorous for me is it maritime just about boats? And it's that often that question of setting expectations and opening up people's perspectives of what the maritime industry really is. So if we just start off, Sam, what are your thoughts on the maritime industry? How would you describe it to potential candidates or potential people looking to find a career in maritime?
As you say, it's not just about boats, it's everything that goes to support it. When I was in the Royal Navy, not only did we go to sea, but we worked shore base to keep ships going. We worked in training. And as you and I both know, we've moved on in life now and we sit as educationalists trying to bring to it. But there are huge opportunities, whether you want to be afloat or whether you want to be shore-based. The engineering is challenging. The engineering is all the way across from the main engines, but to all the support systems, refrigeration, all the skills that perhaps a village needs, that they're needed on a ship. And the maritime world can offer you that. So if you fancy the life at sea, it's exciting. But if you want to sit shoreside and go home every night and do the 9-to-5 job, there are plenty of opportunities out there, not just within engineering, but within support, management, logistics. It's massive. Even cruise ships, people escorting people onto their cruises. The world and the tourism opportunities are huge. So, yeah, it's not a one-trick pony. It is a massive portfolio.
And again, it goes back to the first episode, if for those of you who've listened to it, and I came shoreside and I was looking for a job, and there was a company in the Dorset area, and they said to me, and I remember it sticks with me, what has marine engineering got to do with what we do? And again, it really still frustrates me, that lack of understanding, not by just people coming into the industry and and aren't aware of it, but trying to explain to those who are recruiting military people in the Navy, ex-merchant Navy, engineers, seafarers, deckhands, whatever it is, and trying to get them to understand the attributes, the characteristics, the skill sets that we have. Because as you mentioned, on board a vessel when you're at deep sea, you're not only an engineer or a decky or a ETO, you're the firefighting crew, you're the medical staff, you're the housekeeper. It's a bit of everything. So one of the things to really, really understand is, if you're looking for a career in maritime, do your research, find out what all the different avenues are. Take a look at our careers section on the BMTA page, where we give an overview of different career pathways, engineering, shipwrights, even down to ratings and hospitality, because there's plenty of different avenues in there. I've got quite a few friends who I grow up with, and some of them are entertainers on board. So they actually have a passion for drama and dancing and bits and bobs like that and shows, and they travel around the world doing the entertainment. And I've also got some colleagues who were really interested in early years and education and supporting younger children, and they end up doing the kids clubs on board. So I definitely think having some research into what excites you, what avenues you'd like to go, and explore the maritime equivalent of it.
Can I just say, Owen, when you're younger, certainly for people coming at school age or even in career changes, they have a bit of knowledge. But when I was at school, people kept asking me what did I want to do, and I didn't have a clue because I didn't know what was out there. But I did make a list. I wrote down the things I didn't want to do, and one of them was I didn't want to be sat in an office all day long. I didn't want to be sat behind a desk. I felt my strengths led with what I could do with my hands. I was fascinated why things worked or why they didn't work, and set about doing it. And that sort of focused me on to looking at what was out there. I knew also I wanted to travel. I wanted to see something that was a bit different. And for me, I quite liked the idea of the military. But it's not for everybody. But if you think, well, I'm not somebody who's going to take to the authoritarian world and someone's not going to tell me what to do, doesn't exclude you from the world of shipping. As I said, you can do various tasks. You can do it shore-based, but don't just think everything has to be done in one place. The beauty of our world is that we've got different platforms we can work on, and we can work to our strengths in those platforms.
Yeah, and I think that's something, going back to the open events, that we've always made a big effort on, is setting expectations. Because again, going back to it, is the maritime for us, or for me as such, as the question. There's lots of avenues, there's lots of skill sets, and we can sell it and sell it and sell it, and it can be a wonderful thing to talk about. But at the same time, myself and yourself, we always give both sides of perspectives, because again, we have to be honest with people. The maritime industry can be grueling, it can be difficult, it can be long hours. You're going to get wet. There's going to be cold days. There's going to be really hot days. I've been down to temperatures such as 1-2 degrees, but then I've been in Brazil in an engine room on a chemical tanker, and it's 50 degrees. I've gone through 3 boiler suits in about an hour, just perspiring and sweating. But at the same time, the joys of that were Brazil. We came alongside. I got to see a different culture. I got to explore Sao Paulo, Recife, Rio, and all of those sort of aspects. So there's lots of different things. And especially on the shore side, as you mentioned, you could be in a lovely marina. You could be working on barges. You could be on the inland waterway. You could be on a super yacht or someone's pleasure craft doing work. The variety that is there is huge. And again, looking at the different types of things shoreside as well, you could be into rigging, you could be into sales, you could be into water sports training, such as down at the UKSA, who do a lot on water sports in maritime. So there's lots of different avenues. Don't just assume that when we talk about maritime or marine engineering or whatever, we're just going to work on boats.
Yeah, and adding to that, I've worked with people who've developed their skills, people who've gone off and they've done their dive master qualifications, they've done their water sport qualifications, even learned languages, which have given them an advantage in the workplace. They've gone off to work on super yachts and people who require flexibility, people with adaptability. So people are not just doing the engineering, they're doing the mix and match amongst it. So you really have got to start looking out there. And in today's modern world, you can use various media channels to have a look at it, but there's lots and lots of stuff out there. And you can come and talk to the professionals, the people who've done it. If you've been in the industry for many years, you've got opinions and you can take them or leave them, but at least you'll get it straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, I think going off of that, if anyone is interested in maritime and getting further advice, of course, we've sort of spoke about this podcast and the website. But again, I think the important thing is, if you've got an idea or an inkling of what you want to do, then it's about understanding the industry and going away and sort of doing your own research, utilizing podcasts such as this, or talking to Maritime Futures, which is a good program there. Speak to colleges and support services. But the vast majority in the industry are passionate about it. I think that's fair to say. And very unlikely anyone will turn you away and say, no, I'm not willing to talk about it.
Yeah, people want to sell the industry. People, especially people like yourself and me, we've had great careers at sea. We've had good careers shoreside. We're excited by seeing people grow and develop, and we're the type of people who go out there and try and sell it. But there are the people on the coalface who, if you actually stick your head into their world and say, what are you doing? Then it's fantastic. Even something as simple as going on a vessel from Southampton, they run the Shield Hall. And in the machinery space, there are some very senior and experienced steam engineers. But it's surprising how many of our cadets go along and they go and work with these people because they learn about it. You can actually go for a sail with them. You can pay for a day out with them, and they will give you a tour of the machinery space, and you can see what excites them. Yes, you may not find a steam vessel, but you certainly get the feel that engineers are excited by what they do. So yeah, go and explore all the avenues.
Yeah, and of course, again, other areas you can go to, the historic dockyard, of course, lots of passion and things down there. Up in Belfast, the Titanic Museum, all of these people, even down to Norfolk and Suffolk, you've got Trinity House. There's lots of opportunities there to go around and speak to people. So if someone was interested in looking into maritime, obviously the resources are there, and there's podcasts there to support as well. But how would you recommend they went about finding the realities of maritime, like life at sea, life ashore, the different jobs, and what would be your recommendation to them before deciding on which way to go and if it's right for them?
I think first of all you have to know the type of person you are. You have to know what you're wanting. There are some very good methods of exploring. You could, for example, with the military, they have their careers offices, they have open days, they have events running throughout schools and colleges. Always worth going to have a look. Yes, don't be blindsided by the glitz and the glamour of it. Like everybody, we're here to try and sell a product, and they need people to walk through the doors. But ask the people who are delivering not just the videos and the glossy toys they've got. Go and talk to the people who are standing there, and they will be honest. They're not there just to get numbers in. Likewise, come to open days, come to universities, colleges. All schools will tend to run something like that, or even talk to careers advisors. And if you talk to careers advisors, certainly on the South Coast, lots of schools are involved with maritime. They've got contacts. And if these people don't know, they will start digging out and they will find people who can give you advice. So if it's what you want and it's not readily on the shelves, ask. Ask those people who are professionals and who know how to get into the industry itself.
Okay, and then from that, if they're happy with what they're looking at, they've got an idea of which ways to go, I think then it's important to set expectations. Okay, so and not just with what you think the industry is going to be, but is it going to suit your own personal lifestyle? Right? I've got a note here that I'm just reading it, and it always makes us chuckle. It's not below decks.
No, sadly, I think the industry does itself no favors in many respects because they have to make an entertaining program, and so they set it up. We know it's set up. We get various pointers. I've worked with people who have actually served on these boats as engineers, and they will admit that they're geared up for it, and it's entertaining. But my experience of talking to people like Chief Stews and the deckhands, they're far more professional. There isn't the screaming, there isn't the infighting, there isn't the drunkenness. Yes, they have a good time, but they're also consummate professionals. They know what they're there for, they know how to work. So it is different. But you have to know what you want. If you think about it, here's a challenge. Turn off your mobile phone and don't have it available for 2 days. That's what could happen when you're at sea. If you find you can't live without it, maybe going away for 6, 3, 10 weeks, whatever, is not going to be for you, because there will be times when you will be without it. There'll be times when you're going to be so tired you won't even want to pick up your phone. So have a try. See if that you can cope with that. It's a simple acid test.
Yeah, and that way, again, then you're going to be looking at shoreside roles. Yeah,
Definitely.
So the same sort of avenues. The marine engineer shoreside, marine electrician shoreside, it's just a different lifestyle. And trying to explain to people the difference between a seafarer and shoreside roles is difficult. People don't quite understand necessarily what going away is like at sea for those periods of times. Now, we've both done it, so we talk about our experiences. You a lot longer than I, but again, the transferable skills is absolutely fascinating, and it's such an important aspect of our industry. So what if you're content with, the maritime industry, it engages you, it shows you have interest in it, and you get passionate, excited about it. I think the next thing to sort of talk about is, are you the right fit? So in essence, it's about those characteristics and attributes, which we have got another episode on characteristics and attributes. But if you were to just summarize it in a couple of lines, what type of character is required to work in maritime?
You've got to be an even type of person. You can't have peaks and troughs. You've got to be able to work with a team. You've got to be able to work with strangers or get to know strangers very quickly. You've got to have confidence. You're going to join a vessel if you go to sea, and you're going to have to get engaged with your shipmates very quickly. You could potentially have to fly all around the world. You've got to be driven by a desire to progress yourself, because, again, it's not school. No one's going to stand over you. The work that you need to do to advance yourself is going to have to come from you. You've got to be someone who can cope without having much sleep. It's not very easy. It's something you learn. But if you're somebody who won't get out of bed until midday on a weekend, it doesn't matter what happens, then maybe you're going to struggle if you have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So you've got to do that. You've also got to be able to be in a position where not only are you going to be able to do the job, but you need to keep yourself fit. You've got to keep your mind fit. You've got to keep your body fit. So you have to be creative. Not all ships have gyms, so you have to work out how to look after yourself there. And then you've got to find time to be able to communicate with family and get their support network. So you do really have to analyze the type of person you are. As we say, if it's not for you, the opportunity to go and work shoreside, where you come away at 5 o'clock every evening, is there. It's not. It doesn't close up the door. It just means that you go down the right avenue in the first place and don't suffer the pain that we see some people who come in because they perhaps been pushed by other people to say, yes, go to sea. It's a fantastic life, but it's not always for everybody.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. We don't close the door on anyone. It's just finding your own way. I always say not everyone goes up Mount Everest direct. Some people take the long route or a different way. You've got to find your own pathway. But a lot of those same skills on shoreside, so flexibility, long hours, early doors, you could have a customer come in. I remember one job, I was working at Ocean Yacht Systems, and we had a job come in, and it was for a sailing yacht, and they needed the hydraulic ram serviced and turned around in 24 hours.
Yep.
And unfortunately, this has got to be done. And those in the industry, they recognize this. They recognize adaptability, flexibility, working together. But the rewards are great. When you're sat, just come off watch, and you, as you mentioned on work-life balance, stood on the back of the boat with your cup of tea, and you're seeing that sunrise come up, and there's nothing around, or the first time you cross the equator, or shoreside when you're taken out for a sea trial and the engines are humming absolutely perfectly. The satisfaction is just wonderful, unless we're just sad, which quite often I think we are a bit weird, but we embrace it, and we love what we do and what we talk about.
You've got to have pride. You've got to have pride in what you do. There is no place in the maritime industry for that'll do. It's got to be done. It's got to be done right. Again, shoreside. If you're working shoreside and you're sending someone off to sea, you want to know that they're safe. I've worked shoreside and I've done jobs. I go back to one time I did a welding job on a vessel, and it was only when I was at home. I had rushed the job a little bit. I thought I'd run out of the purging gas for the weld. I actually went back on a Sunday morning and took the pipework back off. I remanufactured it. I made sure there was purging gas, and I put it back on board, primarily because I was concerned that somebody was going to sea and the system would have failed on them. So you have got to have pride. You've got to understand what everybody does within the system. But again, the fact I gave up my weekend, I felt good in myself because I've done the right and proper thing to make sure things were correct. And that's what you've got to have if you're going to work in the industry.
And I think moving on then, once you recognize those stages, so we talked about, is it really right for me? Am I interested in it? What are we've got another episode on career pathways and educations. But once you've identified that, yes, this is for me, yes, not only is it for me, but I meet the needs of the industry. The next thing to sort of talk about is what are your long-term goals? And we will talk in different episodes about progression and options and bits and bobs. But just in terms of analysing is the industry for me, I think it is important to decide where you want to end up in life. So in regards to that, I think it is important to have a plan to not only look at the short term, but look at the long term and if it fits with your long-term plans. So some people will know, I want kids by the age of 24, 25, per se, or I want a house by the age I'm 30. And the route you take and the maritime industry being relevant to you, again, you do need to combine it with your short and long-term plans.
You can go and get an apprenticeship. You could do a cadetship. You could do the walk of shame down, we call it the walk of shame, but you could go and walk down marinas globally to get a job. But if you don't understand what each one is going to reward, you're not going to make your plan work. So as Owen says, you've got to know what you want from life. You have to understand what the industry can give you and what you can give the industry so that it will work for you. And it's not easy. There's an awful lot of people who will sell you the golden ticket. And in my experience, the golden ticket doesn't really exist. It requires hard work, it requires planning, and it requires dedication. But like Owen said, if you decide that you want children at the age of 23, 24, then you build that into the plan. You look at which part of the industry will suit you. If you want to have children and you're a female going away, 23, 24, do you want to walk away and leave your kids at home with somebody for 6 to 10 weeks? May work. Some people do. Some people leave their other half looking after the children and they go away. But it's harder in many senses for the woman to walk away from children than it is from the men. It's a biological fact. It does happen and no one judges them, but it's a real balance. So you've got to know exactly whether the industry will look after you in that sense.
Yeah, I think especially with some of those aspects, having that plan, some people will just want to be third engineer. They're more than happy. They find their comfort zone, they find out where they are and they tick along. Some people want to get chief engineer, superintendent, etc., etc. And again, having an idea of, right, does my ambitions to drive through, get promotions, get up the ranks, does that fit my desires in the maritime industry, or will the maritime industry enable me to do that? So again, if you're really passionate about pushing yourself, make sure you know how, if you're definitely going to go down the maritime industry, that A, you know how to get there, and if it doesn't, look shoreside, look at alternatives. There's no shame in going into the automotive industry, into the manufacturing industry, whatever. Obviously, we're hugely passionate about the maritime industry. My personal view is it gives you more diversity than probably most careers in engineering, electrical, boat building. All of those give you a lot of diversity in terms of what you're going to see to other areas. But obviously, we've been there and done it, and we have the passion for it. But certainly having an idea of where you want to go is key, because we've seen people make chief engineering 5, 6 years?
Yeah.
But there's some going. But at the same time, we've seen people who stay as second engineer for years and years, and they're absolutely confident there. They are probably more knowledgeable than the chief, but they found their place.
Yeah, some people don't want the responsibility. Some people just want to earn the money, do the job. And just going back to other industry or other trades within the industry, look at something like dancers. They spend a long time at sea. They have to work very hard. As much as an engineer, we like to think we work hard. Someone who has to perform 2 or 3 times a night. They have a level of fitness. They have to train. They have other roles on board the vessel, but it builds up their portfolio so that when they get to the point where they want to come shoreside, they've got another string to their bow, and again, their employability factor goes up tenfold. So again, you've got to set where you want to be. Not everybody's going to be the chief engineer. and as Owen said, the people I know who stayed at second are more than happy. Very competent, very able. They've got a great career opportunity if they want to go shoreside. People still want those skill sets, but maybe as a person, they don't want the responsibility to say the ship is safe to go to sea and take on all the responsibilities that go with it.
And that's similar to shoreside sort of roles. In terms of progression, you can go from marine engineer, you can go to yard manager, you can go up to design. There's so many roles, architects, plenty. But again, you can even start up your own business. A lot of people go self-employed, and they do support vessels at sea. You know, companies such as JB Asher, Finnings, and things like that. A lot of these companies support seagoing vessels with quick turnarounds.
Yes. And we often see cadets going into those companies, so we know that these are facts. These are not just us assuming that things are going to happen.
So I think what I'd like to sort of bring this to a close is we talked about the avenues, which route's best for me, what suits my needs, what I'm like as a person. We've talked about your own characteristics and your own attributes, and does that meet the needs of the maritime industry? And we've talked about progression. We are going to do another episode on barriers to maritime and education. But I just want to touch on it in this episode for anyone who's considering it. It does not matter where you live to access maritime. Quite often, there's this stigma that you have to live near the coast to be involved in maritime. And it's something that needs to be addressed and people need to be made aware of, is you can live anywhere in the UK and there'll be a need for maritime. Be that going to sea, where people and companies will pay your travel to join a vessel anywhere in the world. Your education, you can go down to some of the nautical colleges, Glasgow, Fleetwood, Tyneside, Southampton, wherever it might be, and do distance learning is an option, but doing block release and going away. And it's the same with the apprenticeship schemes. Volvo apprenticeship scheme, Volvo Pent, has been extremely well received, where learners from all around the country come down to a college to do their studies. So if you're sat there thinking maritime sounds really interesting to me, I'm really keen on it, but there ain't no boats near me, it's not strictly the barrier that needs to be put up.
No, and we see companies, even when I was in the Navy, the companies, the Ministry of Defence used companies shore-based to overhaul the engines. So I've been up to rail works where they've taken maritime engines, so the people are overhauling the generators there. Rolls-Royce do many bits and pieces. And as you rightly say, you talked about inland waterways. There are people, even your simple canal boat needs a maritime engineer, and it's not just a case of, oh, it's an engine. There's all the associated equipment that goes with it. You go on a barge holiday, you need toilets, you need electricity, you need your fresh water. So all of these things exist.
Yeah, so certainly if you're interested, or you're even contemplating a career in maritime, or perhaps you've just stumbled across this and you're sat there thinking, oh, okay, that's interesting, please reach out. There's lots of resources out there. Obviously, I bang on about the BMTA website, britishmaritime.co.uk. Have a look at our careers page. We have the free courses on employability, personal development, and well-being, and our information page. But there's plenty of other resources. Careers at Sea, apprenticeships.gov. You could even pop down and go to open events such as the Southampton Boat Show, Southampton International Boat Show on careers evenings. Drop emails to the likes of Sunseekers, Bath and Griffin Marine, just some names that come to mind. Go and speak to Fleetwood Maritime. Go speak to all these people. Reach out to people on LinkedIn. Again, we haven't talked about LinkedIn, but it's a brilliant resource for connecting with like-minded people. Speak to your careers advisors, and by all means, feel free to drop anyone here at the BMTA team an email if you have any questions. Just email info@bmta.net. And with all of these episodes, we thank you for listening. And for anyone who has enjoyed it and feels like giving back, please do consider donating to our Charity of the Year, who you can find more details on at the bottom of the podcast page. where you can make any donation that you feel is reasonable or that you can afford to help support others who aren't quite in as fortunate a position as we are. So thank you very much for listening, and we look forward to you joining us on future episodes.